Welcome to part 2 of the Two Feral Housewives Halloween special. Today your hosts are Hillary and Kimberly, with special guest Jordan. Please take a bite of popcorn or a bite of blood and enjoy the show.
I wish it was videotaped. You could
Have
you seen that? He's like, is that Jason Bourne?
No, we went and we're like, John's like, how are we going to do this? Because we had to do the check thing. And then I was like, well, we could see how easy the screen is to pop out. So we popped the screen out and it was super easy from the inside.
Yeah. It's actually pretty easy to get back into.
Oh, good. And then we took one of those chairs. It's outside out by the back door.
Be careful, Jordan, my friend over here.
Yeah, what if I had come through your backyard?
Well,
this is why I come through the backyard, Kim, because of shenanigans like this happening.
And he put his mask and the knife in the bedroom.
Did you guys tell Adam?
No.
Oh, you should.
Adam doesn't
Adam
know.
Totally would have helped you.
Oh, man.
They didn't need any help, but to commit an actual massacre?
I was so scared. I texted him and I was like, please don't accidentally stab me. I was really scared. He's like,
honestly, what scared me the most is that there was like a real knife.
How did you tell it was a real? She's like, that's a stainless steel, right?
I don't know.
I can kind of tell it was real. Like, it did look thicker. Like,
yeah.
The mask is what scared me.
Yeah.
Honestly, I was like, that's some creepy.
I didn't hear the door either.
I didn't hear anything.
No, I didn't hear anything.
Is this why we had headphones on?
No, that's just for the that's for the sound effects.
Was thinking, I wish I could hear more because we have headphones on and I can't hear anything.
See, this just reinforces my sick love of scaring, because now I'm like, I gotta do this. This is a fun feeling. Let's go do it to 10 people. Let's inflict this kind of fear.
I'm like, oh my gosh.
Oh man.
I should stop watching true murder shows. I was like, okay.
Oh man, I didn't know when he was going to come.
I didn't hear a dog bark. What's going on?
She's in the office.
Your kids are sleeping. The dog's not barking.
Nobody. John. Okay, so John came down the stairs with the mask on earlier.
Yeah,
and Suki went off. She's just was barking at him and going crazy, and he had to pull it up. And she was like, "Oh, it's just you," and then she was fine.
Oh my gosh.
Oh man, that was.
Wow, I got some adrenaline.
Right? That'll wake you up.
That's okay. You got us some Mickey D sodies. Yeah. All is forgiven.
Yeah, he's like,
I can't believe he climbed
but
the
also,
window.
I know.
Game on.
Jordan's gonna get you back.
I know.
I'm not good at scaring
Sean
people,
even went out because our gate door swings open, so the stone is there to keep it shut and lock it.
Yeah.
And so Sean went over and moved it all for him, and he's like, "It's muddy back there, so you make sure you take your shoes off." So he take his shoes off to climb through the chair.
He was so quiet.
The level of commitment, right? I love it. It's so fun.
Earlier, he moved his car down the street, so you would think he was gone first, and he was going to hide in there.
Oh my god!
But then we had to do some sound stuff. So
funny. I love it.
It was just funny because at first I was like, "Oh, it's Sean," and then I realized it wasn't. And then I looked at the knife and was like, "That is a real freaking knife."
Oh man!
And that's when I barreled off the couch.
And honestly, I think you were strategically trying to get further away, so then I would have got killed first, and you would have had time to skedaddle.
Oh man!
I would have gotten.
I would have gotten first.
Thank you, John.
Go on.
Did you scream? I don't even know.
I did scream.
She did. She was scared. That's the other thing is that she also looked terrified.
She knew, and she still screamed.
But I didn't know when he was coming.
I feel like it's almost worse because you're just anticipating
I was sitting here super anxious.
I waited before for a good 20-25 minutes in a crouched position to scare somebody. And so it is an art. And
oh man, yeah.
Hats off to you, sir. And,
do you want Diet Dr. Pepper or Diet Coke?
You slap me with whatever you don't want. I don't care. I don't care. I would do a Diet Coke or a DP. Well, Sprite doesn't have caffeine, right? Mm-mm. Do you want Sprite? Who is the Sprite for? Okay, I'll do the Sprite. Yeah. I can't have too much caffeine or I get aggressive. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for scaring me. I love it.
And Adam's going to be like, why didn't you let me know? Adam's like, I could have come in through the back door at the same time.
That would have been so funny.
That's what she said.
Literally, that is what Jordan said.
Oh,
Oh,
man.
man.
Oh, I don't remember what we were talking about.
I was about to tell my ghost stories.
Yeah, I think we were also in
Thank you,
we were
Jen.
kind of in the thick of it, so that was good timing.
It was. I was like, oh man, I really hope he comes during the spooky ghost story part.
It's gonna be so loud.
It is.
I don't know
Oh,
if you're gonna
man.
hear it because Kid flew in.
And like unplugged every headphone and all the sound.
I don't even know how, like, honestly, like, physically, I could not launch off right now because I'm, like, deep into this couch. I am a foot deep, and, like, she sprung like a little spring chicken.
I'm like part cat or something. I don't
I
know.
know. Oh man.
My sister, when we were watching The Nun, and she looked up, she's like, I've never seen you move so fast
For
in your
real.
life.
That's what it was like.
I know,
She did
honestly,
it. It was
your
like,
survival, like, instincts are, like,
Fight or flight, man.
pretty
She's like,
good.
flight.
One time I was in the shower and Adam and the kids had gone to our friend Lauren and Jacob's house. I was doing homework. I was writing like one of my final term papers. And Adam's like, I'll take the kids because we were supposed to go hang out with them. I'll take the kids. You stay here, get some writing done, and I'll come back at like what time? And I was like, okay, come back at like 1 because I have to shower. So I got in the shower. It was like 12:30, like not time for him to come. And it was when we had Toby and Rosie. And so I was showering. And then all of a sudden, like someone was like in the bathroom and he like decided to scare me. And he was like, ah. And I turned and I was like, ah. And I just fell in like a ball on the bottom of the shower floor. And Adam was like, it's just me. And I was like, why would you do that to me? And he was like, did you think I was like, I literally thought I was going to die. And he's like, you just like laid down and
shower is the best place to get people, though. I'll tape down light switches and then turn them off. And Ryan will not be able to, like, he'll try to turn it on, but it's taped down. Oh, I love it. Because then they're so vulnerable. And sometimes if you get them good enough, you can even get the water to go cold on them.
Oh,
Which is pretty funny.
you just flush a toilet in another bathroom, right?
I don't know if that's, I don't know.
That doesn't really work anymore. I don't
It does
think.
at our house, but our house is old.
Yeah, I think it just depends on certain water heaters.
Yeah.
Maybe? Or I don't know.
Maybe it's the toilet in our bathroom, if you flush it, it goes cold.
Actually, I've never tried it, though, either.
I've tried it in our old house that we used to live in. It didn't work. But
Our bathroom has a window above it, and then the hose is like a little like rectangle window at the top, and then the hose is like right below it. And I always want to like
put the
undo
hose
the
through the
screen
window.
before Adam gets in the shower one day, and then when he gets in it would have to be in the summer. Then when he gets in the shower one day, just like put the hose through the window while he's in the shower.
Do it in the winter. It's worse.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Anyways, so back to
My
where
heart
we
rate's
were.
up. Has anybody come down yet? Because I'm
No, I am
beats
actually
per
very
minute right now are
high
off the
strung.
charts on my iWatch.
Okay, so I used to be in Job's Daughters, and the temple for it was downtown Salt Lake.
That's why it was.
So this is
we're
a
talking
church?
It was like an old building that they remodeled into
a Masonic
temple. Do you know the
It's
Masons that wear
it's
the
not our
little red
church.
hats with the little tassel off of it, like the fez?
Yes.
The fezzes. So those are Masons. And it's a Masonic temple, and it was downtown, and I used to be in the Job's Daughters. And so they do their rituals or whatever in the rooms, whatever, which I won't talk about because they're sacred to them. I
And
will
you're allowed
respect
to go
that.
there, though, even if you're not a Mason?
I at the time, yes, when I was down there, I wasn't really in a religion at the time. When I was in Job's Daughters, and my friend that was terrified at the haunted house thingy or the maze thing, she was in it, and so I joined it with her.
Okay.
And
Masons can be any religion.
yeah,
I'm not sure about any, but like
well,
Oh,
they're
okay, good. See, I didn't
yeah.
know the content. Okay, that makes sense.
they're
Okay, so
non-denominational, right?
I don't honestly know. I think it was like 14 or 12. I was a kid. I was young. I was only in it for like a year,
Yeah,
maybe.
But when we lived
But-
in Massachusetts, it was big, and it was
pretty
any
big down
religion. Yeah,
So, but it was this beautiful, beautiful place, and the rooms were gorgeous. The red room, it was like the blood room. Everything in it was red.
oh,
And they have like a throne, and then there's two like things next to it, little thrones. And then at the other end of the room, there's two like thrones at the other side that are kind of like guard people that let people into the room when you're doing a ceremony. And then when you're outside of the room, like you have to do a special knock order to get in. Well, those people would come out and let you in. So at this temple, or the place, there's also people that close the temple down and everything, right? And the temple was really old, and they had like a really cool room that had like all of the uniforms or that they would wear, like the old Masonic people from like way back when, like in the 1920s, 30s, like whenever they changed, they had like them on display there in the like a museum part, and it was really cool. But anyways, so the ladies there's a lady that worked there at night and another guy, and they had a bunch of different stories that they would tell us because they worked there all the time. And there was also like there were ghosts there all over the place. Like I could feel them all over. Like they were just constantly present there. And the one lady, she said that she was closing down the whole place, and she goes and checks all the doors and locks and everything. And she was going to shut down the auditorium, the big one. And as she was walking towards it, there were these 3 people like walking just past, and she's like, hey, like you guys got to get out of here. And they didn't answer her or whatever. And as she got closer, she noticed that they like were wearing the really old costumes or old uniforms that they had. And then she was like, what the heck? And then she like looked down, and none of them had like feet. Like they were kind of like floating, like ghost type things or spirits. And she's like, oh, like obviously that's super weird, you know? And so like there's just spirits that float around there all the time. But then the creepiest one, and she's like, and anyone that went to that temple swore that there was this ghost named Charlie that lived there, and he was a prankster, and like they, no joke, had like flyers like down in the main lobby about him because he would do stuff all over the place. And I have like felt his presence when I was there too. Like I would be in the foyer of the ceremony place, and I would like set something down, and it would like move like without me moving anything or any, like nobody was there, and I would like turn around and it'd be like completely over somewhere, like just stupid little tiny things like that. But there was this lady, she and her daughter were there, and her daughter was pushing her down in her wheelchair, and she was pushing her down to the parking garage, and it was like a slanted ramp, like back and forth all the way down the parking garage, and they were up like 4 flights or 6 flights, and they were finishing their ceremony thing, and as they were going down, the daughter was pushing her down the ramps, and then all of a sudden the wheelchair like got out of her hands, and it just started like rolling, and the mom of course started like freaking out and screaming, and as she thought she was gonna like run into the end of the ramp and like crash, but as the wheelchair hit towards the end of the ramp, it like turned automatically, and the wheelchair did that all the way down to the very end, like obviously like a ghost was like pushing her all the way down, and like really fast though, and then when it got to the very, very end of the ramp, it just stopped, and she flew out of the wheelchair, and she died.
Oh my gosh! I thought you were saying a ghost saved her.
No, she died.
Jeez.
But and
nice ghost.
No, he's a prankster ghost, but he's not always nice.
That's not a prank, though.
No, but
I don't mean to laugh.
no. But the crazy
I thought
thing
it was gonna be a happy ending.
No,
like,
but the crazy thing is like the building was like remodeled and built on this place, but it used to be a hospital, and the very bottom level of that place used to be the morgue.
oh,
Yeah. So it's super trippy. So there's just all these crazy stories like that from that place. And then when I lived in Copperton up in the mining town in Utah, it's like all these old homes from like 1914 and stuff. And they have the houses where the miners would go in the back doors. The driveways they shared, and they'd go in the back, and they'd go downstairs straight away, and they'd shower down in the basement, right, with the ceramic floors, right? That's what they're. And I was a teenager. I was 15 or 16, and my bedroom was downstairs. And there were 2 ghosts that lived in that house. They were like teenagers, is what I felt, and they used to haunt down there all the time. And they just. I mean, they were really nice. They were nice. I felt like they were so downstairs there was like a food storage room, and then my bedroom, then the big room where there was a shower head there, and then there was like a laundry room here, and then a storage room, And the storage room, anytime we'd go in there, we would try to leave the door open and prop it open. And every time it would get pushed and then it would always shut. Like they just did not want that door open ever. And then the laundry room, I think, is where they died, because whenever I was in that laundry room, I could always feel them near me. And there was a mirror that was in there when we moved in. And I never actually like saw them in there, but I could feel them like both behind me whenever I was in that room in the mirror. And I could like just feel them there. And then my bedroom was right there, and I could feel them like kind of cross through the wall in between there into my room. And it sounds super crazy and weird, I know, but I could totally feel it.
Sounds really creepy.
It was really creepy, but they were super nice.
Did you feel weird when you would like change clothes?
No, like they weren't always in my bedroom. So it wasn't like, I don't know, but it was weird because there were sometimes I'd have friends over and I remember distinctly we were watching the Blair Witch Project, which was like the worst movie ever. It was so stupid. And I got nauseous watching it. But they came into my room when my friend and I were watching it. And
it's
I
like
remember
FaceTiming with a 5-year-old. Like, it's like just moving and faces,
it really
right?
It was such a horrible movie. But I remember feeling their presence in the room when we were watching the movie, like they were watching it with us or something. It was weird. But I don't know. So I felt that presence. But the creepiest thing was at my Aunt Jennifer's house. And I honestly get really creeped out talking about it because this ghost was super creepy.
Before we start the story, is anyone else going to jump out and scare the crap out of us? Because I could not handle that again.
I do feel a bit on edge, but I'm also like fiending for it. I'm like, I'm okay with it. Sean, where are you at? Come pop out.
Not that I know of. That was the only one I had planned. So, no. So this one I like seriously get worried talking about it because they legit like had an exorcism for this ghost at the house. And I do feel like the more you talk about them,
you invite them.
So I don't really like to talk about them.
I know. I'm going to stage myself when I get home. I got my little bundle by the front door.
Yeah.
It's okay. We're at Hillary's house. So,
well, so they had, so down in their basement, I used to hate going down in their basement. Like I refused to like sleep down there and I hated it. It was super creepy and it was haunted and it was the creepiest thing. I hated it for the longest time, even though I had to sleep down there sometimes. I just hated it. And eventually, like I found this out like years ago, is that I guess my uncle has all these books. So many books. I've told you about that. I think like he sells books and all these things, and it's just a library downstairs basically. Well, these two certain books kept popping out, and I think one was on the Holocaust, I think, and another one was like something I can't remember. I'd have to ask my dad, but it was like something about the devil or something evil. It was like an evil type book, and these two books just kept getting pulled out, and nobody was downstairs, and it was only these two books. And then sometimes they would end up on the pool table. And then eventually, like, they, like, took them and they, like, put a Bible on top of them.
No, that's awesome.
And, like, it just got to these points. And then my cousin Spencer would go downstairs all the time and he'd turn all the lights on. And then they'd be like, hey, you need to turn all the lights off. So then he would turn them off. But then he'd come upstairs and they'd go back and all the lights would be back on.
Ugh,
so, like, things like that. Like, the lights would go on and all these creepy books kept coming on. And then, like, there were other things that kept happening that were like super creepy. I can't remember what it was, but they were like evil things. Anyways, she ended up having this exorcism to have this ghost go away, and it finally like ended up going away. And she's like, we just don't talk about it anymore because the more you talk about it, the more it invites them back. So we just don't talk about it because it was really creepy. I can't remember the other evil stuff he was doing, but there were like other really evil things they were doing.
Do you have like a reoccurring dream that you've had in your life? Like I've had the same dream, but it's different things happen, but it's always the same premise for like 8 or 9 years. It's not like every night, but like it's like a reoccurring.
I have that.
I have too.
Holocaust reminded me. I was always I was always somebody like a blonde, blue-eyed, like, I don't know if I was like Jewish in it or what, but I was always like being like almost hunted, and it was like during the Holocaust, and it was like a very frightening, horrible dream. But I'm like remember being like, I don't know if it's like someone's trying to like connect with me from the other side, or I don't know if it was because I had to read Number the Stars in 4th grade, which I don't know how that was. Who passed that law?
I don't know.
That was so traumatizing. Okay, now I'm hearing a lot of things happening. Ice crackling.
I had a friend, and she all of a sudden,
That's a cat.
okay, all of a sudden,
That's what
in
you
her
said
house-
last time.
Well, that's Gandalf
Oh, okay.
on at the cat tree.
All of a sudden, in her house, she said that she started to feel like someone was watching her all the time, very suddenly. And then one night, she was dreaming. She was sleeping, and she had a dream that someone was in her house and that they were walking around watching her, and then they attacked her in the dream, and she couldn't move. And she was like trying to wake up, but she couldn't move. Anyway, she finally woke up, but she just was like, but I still felt like the presence. So she went in her mom's room and she was like really, really upset. And anyway, and then later her sister had met some new friends at work, and they were like into a bunch of like weird, like seance-y stuff. And anyway, so they ended up having to get like their house like blessed type thing. And it never happened after that, but like her mom was like really upset with her sister because anyway, but yeah, but like same thing, like
Yeah. It's so creepy. But
I've never known any Wiccans or witches. I don't know what they're called.
I don't think they weren't like wicked. They were just like using
Dabbling.
Ouija boards. They were
Yeah.
just like dabbling.
Oh, yeah, I don't do the Ouija boards.
'Cause
I don't
I-
mess with the spirits, and they don't mess with me. Like,
Yeah,
I did them
I
when I was a
respect
kid.
them. I've never, people in high school would go to like, I kind of rolled with the bad crowd. But honestly, I was a victim. So whatever, I wasn't the ringleader. People would go to like cemeteries and stuff to like after dark and like to kind of like, lack of a better word, party and stuff. Couldn't catch me there. Never once.
I used to go to cemeteries with friends. We would, I don't even know. We were just trying to like get scared, and we would go look for like haunted places. But no, they were like into like, they were like summoning things and stuff. And because I have a friend who's a Wiccan, and she's like she's like the total, like they're not into that. Like they're into elements and that kind of, but not like the like creepy like summoning.
I never went to
spirits.
graveyards because I feel too much when I go there.
Yeah. So I have a scary story, but it's like not a ghost story. It's a good thing that John is not going to jump out now. So when I was young and living in Provo, I lived in a basement apartment. It's Provo, Utah. It was a college town. I lived in a basement apartment with my friend Lauren. And her parents owned a house, and there was like a family who lived upstairs, and we lived in the basement, which if you don't understand Utah houses, that would be like, what? But Utah has a lot of like basement living, like, and so we lived down there, and to get to our house, you would have to walk through the garage. There's like a door on the side of the garage. You'd walk through the garage, and then we had a door there, and we were like tucked back. And so one night, Lauren had gone somewhere. She was hanging out with someone. I was sick, I think. So I stayed home, and I was in the kitchen making stuff. And all of a sudden I heard like the door to our apartment, and it just had like a little, like, it didn't have like a hardcore lock on it. It just had like the doorknob lock, because we were back in the garage, and I heard someone jiggling it. And I was like, oh, hey, Lauren, is that you? Like pretty loud. And I went to go open it, and all of a sudden it like stopped, and I heard footsteps, and then I heard like the outside garage door like shut. And I just didn't move for like a good like couple minutes. I just like stood there.
After seeing how you reacted, I'm not sure I believe that. You probably went and sprinted a mile.
No, I just stood there. This had a very, well, I don't know. Anyway, I just stood
It's a
there.
pretty safe area.
And I was like in a safe area because there were no windows, and the rest of the apartment had windows in it. And so, and I just was kind of like, what? So then I pulled out my cell phone, and I like called Lauren, and I was like, did you just try and open the door? And she's like, no. And I was like, how long till you're home? And she's like, probably. And I was like, can you come home now? So she came home, and I told her what happened, and we're like, that's really creepy. And I was like, okay, whatever. Maybe, I don't know, like, but the people upstairs were gone, and it was just me. So then a couple days later, it was a Friday night, and Lauren and I went out and we're like, let's go get like a movie and some ice cream and pizza and have like a girls' night in, because she was starting to date Jacob then, and Jacob lived with like in a house full of like he had roommates, college roommates, and they lived like across the street. And so we went home and we were about to walk into the house, but the garage door was like open that much, and like we could hear like someone inside. And so we both stopped and we looked at each other and we just turned around and like booked it back to the car, and we drove to Jacob's house. And we were like, we think there's someone in our apartment. And like, anyway, so then we went over there and then we called the police. And they came and they checked it and they couldn't. But again, the people upstairs were gone. And I think it was like the next weekend. Anyway, and we drove to their house. And then one of the guys from the apartment was like, oh my gosh, someone is stalking you. And I was like, what? And he was like, well, I mean, you were home alone the first time and the people upstairs were gone. And he was like, so someone must be stalking you, waiting to see when you're home alone, which is like one of my biggest fears. Was like someone stalking me.
I was low-key flattered.
And it was just one of my, I like true crime, so it was like very, very like scary to me. And so I called my parents and I just like melted down. My dad's like, he's like, knock it off, no one's stalking you, don't be ridiculous. And like my parents just, again, they thought I was like overreacting.
You're like, if this was Sarah, it wouldn't be a conversation.
I know, right? So then they called and they talked to Lauren's mom, and they're like, you know, sometimes Kim's overreacts. And Anna was like, I mean, but Lauren doesn't overreact. And she's like, and so Kim overreacts, but does Kim ever call the police when she overreacts? And they're like, no, that's true. Like when she's overreacting, it's usually like I get like this, like, I think I'm overreacting. I'm 99%. Anyway, and so we ended up changing the locks, and we got like better locks on our doors and like a deadbolt, and like anyway. But it was scary. But then it turned out that someone was going around the neighborhood and breaking into garages and stealing stuff. And so I think they just didn't realize that was like a house back there. You know, they just assumed that it was like another part of the garage or whatever. But still, it was so scary.
That is
I bet you
scary.
scared them too. They're like, I was trying to break in and get some gardening equipment to steal, and I heard this woman say, Lauren, is that you? And he's like, I thought
it's probably some stupid kid actually, but you know, like looking back, and that's who got arrested. It was like a couple of teenagers, and they were like going around like breaking into stuff. It was in a different neighborhood, but still it sounded similar enough, but still it was so scary. Like, it was terrifying.
We had a similar incident when I was a kid. My mom, when we lived in Utah, and my mom was there and she was home alone with John and I was like 10, I think. And John was like 2, maybe I was 11. And we were both sleeping, and I guess she like ran to the grocery store and left us home alone to sleep. And she ran down to the grocery store.
Back in the 90s,
right?
You could do that.
Yeah. And we were sleeping and she ran to the grocery store. And then I guess she was driving home and she noticed somebody was following her. And she drove around and she thought like she had lost them, or she pulled into a 7-Eleven, and she went into the 7-Eleven and she like was trying to lose them, right? And then she got back in the car and then she left, and he didn't follow her. So she thought she lost him and she came home. Well, she hadn't lost him, but she didn't know that. And so she went home, went to bed. And the next morning I woke up and the police were at our house, and apparently, the guy, whoever it was, in the back of our house, we didn't have any grass. And there was a hose, twisty, knobby thing, faucet thing, right underneath this giant window, the guy, whoever it was, had stepped onto the hose thing. And then we think he had slipped because they had fallen into the mud. And then there were mud footprints on our back patio, and then there were mud handprints on the window because they had stepped onto the hose again after they had fallen, and then tried to pull the window open to break into the house that way. And there were mud handprints on the slider door trying to get in, but they obviously didn't get in. But it was super freaky. Like,
how did they? Everything was just locked up.
Everything was locked up, and they didn't get in. Thank goodness. But the guy still obviously had followed her. He just followed her a lot more careful after that. And that was really, really freaky. because she had 2 kids at home and she was home alone. And then like, I think like a week later, or maybe this was like all in the same month, I remember some other night, there was some random guy. I don't know if he was drunk or if he was just some whatever, was out in our front yard, buck naked, dancing around naked in our front yard in the grass.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was bizarre, and like chanting and
I have
saying
neighbors
some
like
random
that.
stuff.
No, I'm just kidding.
She's like, shh, Jordan, tell my secrets. But it was the craziest thing. You made Kim jump when you came in.
I am so on edge now. I'm not gonna lie.
But yeah, that was super freaky. That was super, super crazy. And then
That is so scary.
yeah, I remember that distinctly. I was really, really scared when that happened. But
We just like, I remember being a kid and being babysat by my sister, and I don't ever remember watching like TV as a kid when she would babysit, or we would be like alone with her. And she was always an elaborate thinker, writer, all that stuff. And she would do like Babysitter's Club, but like murder mystery. And so like, I
That
mean,
sounds like me.
we had like French doors in our den, and she would take like a chef's knife, but she would have like ketchup all over it. And she would just like move the knife like within view of the French doors. And so me and like my friends or my brother or the neighbors, like we would all be screaming and like trying to figure out who the murderer was, or like Spice Girls Club murder. And I thought this was like games that like everybody played until I got older, and I'd be like, yeah, let's play Babysitter Murder Club or like solve Spice Girl murder. And people would be like, what? I'm like, yeah, you know that game. But like, she would have like scripts for us pretty much.
Wow.
Like, and I mean, looking back, I'm like, wow, like.
no wonder she's a lawyer now.
I know, she would say attorney. No. But yeah, we talk about that sometimes. So we haven't actually reflected on that since we've had children. And like, what would we do if we saw our kids playing such a game?
Oh my goodness.
We when I was still living in Provo, but Lauren had married Jacob and I had moved out. But one night I was home alone. I think one of my roommates was home. But she lived like on the other side of the apartment. And all of a sudden my cell phone started going off, and I looked and I had like a missed call from a number that I didn't know. But it was like, it was like 2 a.m. And I was like, okay, that's weird. And I'm like, whatever. So then I tried to go back to sleep. And then all of a sudden I got a text from the same number. And it's like, why aren't you answering me? Anyway, and then I was like, okay, I'm just not going to answer.
My nosy self could never not answer a phone number that calls me.
But then I get this long, like clearly a drunk text. And he's like, it hurt me so bad when you did that to me. Why would you use him to make me jealous? La, da, da, da. Just go. And I'm like, I'm sorry. Do you have the wrong number? And he's like, which, with another letter, don't you do this to me. Don't you pretend that you don't know what you did. He's like, then he like started like threatening me and all these things.
Oh my
I'm like,
gosh.
this is not who you think it is. But it was a California number, and I lived in Utah then, so I wasn't like super worried. But still, being like a 24-year-old girl alone at night with like some guy like and he wouldn't stop, and he kept calling, and I was like afraid to turn off my cell phone, because even though I knew that it was a California number, still like it was scary.
You're like, I'm in a toxic relationship with somebody I don't even know.
I know, right? Like I was like,
this
you
seems
block
like
him?
Abusive and harassment.
like,
sir.
and at one point I would be like, no wonder Jenny's not talking to you. Like, anyway, I'm sorry she used so-and-so to make you mad. And he's like, when he walked into the club with him, he's like fawning all over his arm. He's like, the pain in my soul. He was like, I'm going to make you feel that pain. And I was like,
Oh man.
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know why I didn't block him.
Right?
Like, of all the, like, now I'd be like, crazy, block. But I was young and stupid, and I was just like, I don't know what to it was like 2 a.m, but like I was up to like my phone just kept going off. And
my doula for Riley's birth many, many, many moons ago, she's a very different person today. Many moons ago, she got slapped with a telephonic harassment by the police as like a 14-year-old because we used to be really into prank calling.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know, I have never gotten a prank call from anybody in the last 15 years, and I'm a little disappointed in this generation. And I'm like, I know Hillary's, one of her kids has like a cell phone that she's allowed to use on occasion and stuff. I'm like, she's never once prank called me.
I mean, you can't prank call people. Though, now
all the numbers show up.
Not true. I have some apps that will take care of that if you ever want to get weird.
I mean, I'm okay with doing that, but I don't want to teach Kit to do that.
Yeah.
Could you imagine giving Kit and Mercedes an
Oh,
app
my
where they
goodness.
could like, oh my gosh.
But the entertainment value. I remember at these sleepovers, parents would walk in and they would listen and they would laugh for the most part. But yeah, no, people are kind of like crazy now, and they'd post like something on, oh gosh, can you imagine?
Mm-hmm.
I know, but prank calling was like one of the things that you did.
Yeah.
Because we would have sleepovers just to prank call for hours.
I know, right?
Hence the telephonic harassment suit.
We, one of our babysitters had a crush on a guy, and I was friends with his younger brother, and whenever she came to babysit, we would just like prank call them all night long.
My last prank call went really bad.
Was it when Kim flew across the family room? Oh.
No. I didn't tell you about this prank call. It was so bad. It was when I was in the singles ward, and we were at, we call it Awkward Thanksgiving.
Oh, yeah, this story.
And we were playing Truth or Dare. We were like 24, 25, 24. And we dared this girl to call the guy up and ask him out on a date.
Which seems harmless.
Yeah. You know, whatever. And she would go on a date with him. Like, it wasn't like to be mean, like, or anything. She would have gone on a date with him. But it was like kind of a prank call. Like she didn't actually like want to go out with him, but like she would have gone on a date with him. You know, they were friends. And she called him, and it was on speaker, so everybody in the room could hear. And she called and she was like, "Hey, like, I just wanted to see if you'd be interested in going on a date with me." And he was like, "Oh, you know, I'm really flattered and everything. Like, that's really cool. And I like you as a person, but I'm gay."
Oh no.
Yeah, that turned real bad.
He didn't come out of the closet. He burst it out.
Yeah.
Oh,
Nobody knew.
Like, you just could have said no.
Yeah.
But thank you for trying to make me feel better.
Thanks.
She's like, "Here, I'll help you get back."
Okay, thanks. Okay, bye. It was the most awkward thing ever.
So what did people do?
We hung up the phone, and then it was dead silent.
Let's change
His
the
sister
game.
was in the freaking room with all of us, and she knew.
Oh, she knew like before that.
She
call?
knew before the call.
Oh, she should have said something like, "Oh, don't."
Yeah.
But maybe it was like a secret, you know, like, and she didn't want, and who would assume that he'd be like, "Oh, I can't, I'm gay," you know?
Right.
Like,
I know, but still, like, I was like, oh, it was seriously the most
Did
awkward.
he ever find out?
I don't know.
What it?
I have
think
no
his
idea.
sister better have told him.
I don't know.
so I have a
I
story.
mean, everybody knows now, but still, it was seriously the most awkward
that's
thing
awkward.
ever.
I can't even imagine like you like.
Oh,
You're like,
man.
"So should we have pie?"
And she just said, "Okay,
Right?
bye," and hung up.
Yeah, it was. I don't even know.
Oh, okay, then it's not gonna work.
Yeah, pretty
So
much.
it's not me,
okay.
it's you. Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
It
You
was,
just could have said no, but you
pretty
know.
much.
So when I was a senior in high school, there's this road. So to go up to the mountain from the city below, you would take Highway 18, but there was this, like, they called it Waterman Canyon, and it was this old, like, the original road that would go through this canyon, and it would take you up into the mountains, and it was like a different way, but there were like lots of like haunted stories, and, you know, like, there were only like 5 people who lived down in the canyon, and they all had, you know, like huge fences around their house, and just kind of a weird area. And
Hills have eyes type vibe.
yes. And so we were driving, and my friend Deanna was like, let's drive. It was like October, and we were seniors in high school. She's like, let's drive through Waterman Canyon. And our friend Louis was from South Africa, and he was very, very, very superstitious. Extremely superstitious. So Deanna and our friend Michael were in the front, and me and Louis were in the back, And Louis starts like almost crying, and he's like, we can't go. And he's like, haven't you guys heard the story? And we're like, there's lots of stories. Like, people would get murdered down there. And honestly, it was not a great life choice. But so we took it, and Louis starts telling us the story, and he's like, there's this girl who used to live down here, and one day she was riding her bike and she got hit by a bike. So now she stands, like, honestly, she probably looks like that, like, creepy doll you have on that bike right there. And there's like this creepy zombie Halloween doll Hillary has. And
John gave it to us.
Not surprising. So she was like, so he's just like telling us this story, and then how she rides her bike along the side of the road and people stop to pick her up and take her home, and she shows you to her house. We go to the door, you knock on the door, and the mom answers, and she says, I don't have a daughter. And then you look, and the girl disappears out of the back of the car, and then the mom is not there anymore, and then the house is abandoned. And he's just getting so worked up, and he's like starting to like cry and hyperventilate and panic. And I was like, so we won't stop for any little girls. He's like, you guys don't understand. She won't take no for an answer. She'll force her way into the car. She'll roll down your windows. And like, he's just like almost to the point of hysteria. And all of a sudden, all the windows in the car come down. You would have loved this moment. And Louis screams like a girl and starts talking in another language, rips off his seatbelt, jumps in my lap, and has my face in his hands. And he's like screaming, crying. And I'm just like panicking, but also like, this is not really happening. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm more scared that he's like clobbering me. And my friend Michael is just laughing hysterically. And there were automatic windows.
Yeah.
All four in the front, which was like a
rich folk.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say.
He had like pressed them all at the same time and rolled all the windows down. And I mean, he just like
lost it. That's
really,
so
like,
funny.
lost it. And I mean, it scared the crap out of me because all of a sudden there's this like, you know, and Michael is just like dying laughing, and Deanna's like laughing so hard, she's like, I have to pull over. So that's it. He's like, don't pull over, we're gonna die. I mean, like, he was like,
this is how it ends.
like this. So then the next Monday at school, he's like, I have to tell you guys something. And he had this very like posh like accent. He was like, his family was very rich. They had like tea time, and he was like, I've made a decision. I am never driving on that road again. If you take me on that road again, I will get out of the car and I will walk up the mountain without you. And we're like, okay. And he's like, I am serious. And the next time we went somewhere, Michael's like, let's go up Waterman Canyon. And we did. He did not walk. He just cried. But anyway, that was like one of those, like, you would have been very proud.
I love a good moment scare.
I mean, it was just like perfect timing.
That's awesome.
So yeah,
my kids like to be scared. Emma loves it.
Mercedes loves it too.
She signs more to me. She didn't love being scared in her crib the one day, but nah.
I don't scare my kids.
I do.
You don't got enough time. Look over here, just horrifying my kids.
You're not feral enough yet, then. Just kidding.
I mean, I guess I do sometimes.
Like, I go like a roar, like a quick, like, here, Emma, come, let's go read a book. And I'll like run ahead of her, and then I'll like sneak into like whatever side room I can sneak into.
I do stuff like
and
that.
then I pop out and go, rah.
Oh yeah,
Like,
I'll
I'm not
do
like
that.
doing like full, like,
John like coming out,
pulling out screens of windows, placing boots under.
That's kind of what I assumed you were talking about, because
We'll build up to that though. Like,
she's like, we're prepping.
yeah.
We're prepping for that. Okay, so for this Halloween, what are your kids going to be?
Sally from Nightmare Before Christmas, and maybe a second Sally. But she was supposed to be, the little one was supposed to be Sandy Claus. But
Aw.
she's not going to be happy with that. She likes Sally. She wants to wear a dress, and Riley's trying to saddle her with like the worst character.
that's like Kit. Kit's like, oh,
Wasn't she be 0?
Cindy's going to be 0.
Oh.
I already assigned the mayor and 0 to Chris and Cindy who are coming. And so I want to be like, we're going to be like a whole crew.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, it would make sense we're holding
What if she's
Sandy
the
Claus,
witch?
who we kidnap.
That'd be cute.
But I don't think she'll wear a beard. She won't wear the hat.
What if she's the witch?
why
The
don't you
little
make-
one of
could be
those
a
3
witch.
people. Those 3 kids, you know?
The ones that steal.
Yeah, the steal Sandy Claus, the witch.
Yeah.
Yeah. We love that song right now. Kidnap the Santa Claus. Yeah. Riley listened to it the other day. She's like, it's not really an appropriate song, but I'm appropriate. And I just like a song, okay? I'm like, yeah, you're good. I'm like,
She's so cute.
That's awesome. And what are your kids being?
A fireman, Mickey and Minnie. So yeah.
What about Ryan?
Oh, Ryan's gonna be something from a video game. The Joker from. It's not the Joker from
Smash
Batman.
Bros.
It's not from Smash Bros.
Oh no, it's from. Oh, he told me it too. He's in Smash Bros. Though.
Yeah. Anyway, and his costume actually looks really cool. I bought him like a coat thing to wear, and so yeah.
are you dressing up?
No,
It's okay. You don't have to.
Jordan's
I used to dress up all the time. I used to have this Maid Marian costume that I loved and I wore all the time, but then I got rid of it. And Adam's like, "Why'd you get rid of it?" I'm like, he's like, "You looked like a bar wench." I'm like, "Oh, thank you, Adam." So
He's like, I was into it.
pretty much.
I didn't have it when I dated him. Like I had already gotten rid of it.
Yeah.
I don't know why I got rid of it. Like I wore it every year I was Maid Marian.
What about you guys? What are you going to be?
Mercedes is going to be Pouchy
Best costume.
from Inside Out 2. And Edwin's going to be Anger. And then I'm going to be Disgust.
Oh,
I've
you
decided
are?
Yeah, because you love Disgust.
Yes, I
I'm
do.
glad.
Now that Mercedes has decided to be only Pouchy because she does
She's
not.
into a multi-character.
Well, she was going. I was like, why can't you be like one of the emotions and then just wear Pouchy? Because it would be so much easier.
Oh,
But
yeah.
she's like, no, I want to be just Pouchy.
Oh, because she could just like be an emotion and then have a fanny pack.
Yeah.
But now she's being.
She's just Pouchy. So it's interesting. I started making the costume. It took me like 5 hours to construct it out of cardboard, and then I spray painted it, and now I'm working on the fabric part of it.
I bought my kids' costumes.
It looks ridiculous, but it also looks amazing.
It's so
and
niche. I
hilarious.
love it.
Yeah.
It looks so cool.
It's like Sean's like, it's like 30 pounds of cardboard. She's like wearing with
She's
straps.
going to be like sweating underneath it.
She's like blocks the whole sidewalk when she walks, and she's to turn
Actually,
sideways.
strategically, that's
to
a
go
great
through
way to
doors.
do Halloween. You
For
keep
real.
people from cutting you off.
It's true. She
And then
looks
who's
pretty
Sean
awesome.
going to be?
Well, we said he was going to be Fear.
He should be embarrassment.
But I think he'd be a better embarrassment. And then John, I think he's going to pick one of the emotions. I don't know which one. We told him to be, is it Weebay?
Boredom?
Boredom, yeah. Because he's very...
My friend's kid's going to be Bing Bong and carry a wagon.
That's
And
so
I'm like,
cute.
oh my gosh, that's so smart.
That's
Aw.
so cute. I told Hillary, I was like, she's like showing me this whole costume that she made for Mercedes. I was like, oh man. I was like, I would like not be able to do that. I would be like, look, here's a fanny pack. Put it around your neck and we'll put like eyeballs on top of your head.
No, you were like, put it around your face like a mask.
Yes. Put eyeballs on top of your head. And then just wear a pantsuit that's like green. And she was like,
That's so smart. Why didn't I think of it?
I was like,
So much easier.
She's already fully committed.
I know. I'm too involved now. I'm
she's
too
like,
deep.
why didn't you tell me this before I worked on this for
Right?
5 hours?
Seriously, man. I'll have to
What
post
was your
pictures.
most favorite Halloween costume ever?
Oh man, okay. Growing up, my dad did some amazing costumes for me. So my mom made a lot of them growing up, and I think probably my most memorable one that I did that I can think of is I was a flower, and my mom made it, and my head was the middle of the flower, and the petals were around my head, and then my body was the stem, and there was a bee that was dangling off of it. And my dad rigged it, and this was like, I think it was like 8. So this was like 93. So
That's
it's
a
a
good
long
year.
time ago. He rigged it so that the bee lit up when I pushed a button.
Oh
and
my
I think,
gosh.
And I think that it went bzzz when I pushed a button. So like he rigged it so that it lit up and did stuff when I
That is
like
so
he
cool.
did all kinds of cool stuff like that for my costumes
My
and my
parents couldn't even
Valentine's
stay
baskets.
married. Your parents are building costumes. Just kidding.
It was pretty awesome.
My mom made me a witch costume one year. That was really cool. She just like took muslin and like made this dress and dyed it black.
Oh, that's cool. Like made it like real, like
Yeah,
That's
and
cool.
it just looked really cool. And that was one of my favorite costumes. And then I had an Alice in Wonderland costume that I wore for a couple of years. And then my Maid Marian costume was probably... I was Arwen once from Lord of the Rings.
oh, that'd be cool too.
Yeah,
cool.
it was also Dorothy. I'm a dork apparently, but yeah. So, but
I'm like, I don't even remember any other costumes that I've been, except for when I was really little and they're from pictures. Yeah.
I was Belle one year.
I was a princess one year, and then I cut my own hair
Ooh,
right before Halloween, and then my mom
knock
was
on
like,
wood. That's like my
"What
biggest
did you
fear.
do?"
Yeah, I'm like, why they never cut your hair?
She had to cut it, and I was like super short-haired princess. So
Yeah. So, I don't know. And then one year, this was when I was like single. I was a manhunter, and like my mom made me like this like old fashioned like early 1900s like hunting outfit. And I had,
Fatigues, like the camo or
no, like I had like a brown like vest and like a dress shirt and like kind of like Jane from Tarzan type thing.
okay.
that's cool.
Type thing. And then I carried a rifle and I was a manhunter.
That's cool.
So yeah.
My favorite costume ever was I went to U of O, and I did go there a lot, but I didn't go to college there. And my best friend, who the Halloween incident that I shared earlier, I'd go down, I visited her, and that was my favorite costume I ever wore. It was Britney Spears from Circus, and it like the jacket was like custom made, and it was my boss's jacket that her mom made her, and she let me borrow it, and I worked at Hollister at the time, and she came from like money, like her dad owned a travel company and stuff, so like this was a fancy jacket, and she just entrusted it fully to me, and it was the coolest. I peaked. That was it. Everything else is never going to be as cool.
That's awesome.
This inflatable costume is going to rock people's world, I think,
excited.
this year.
Did you buy it already?
No, it's in my Amazon cart. It's just like $85.
$85.
Yeah, it's pretty expensive.
That's
so I'm trying to
insane.
debate if I want to pull the trigger, if I just go with like, because Riley said I could wear the dress. She gave me permission.
Mm-hmm.
My life is run by a 5-year-old. But we'll see.
I did have one year when Sean and I we weren't even dating. We were just friends. It was in my
Air
room.
quotes. No,
When
just
my
kidding.
my roommate had a crush on him at the time. This was when she decided she didn't like him anymore because apparently I flirted with him at this Halloween party. But we went as the Clue characters.
Oh my
And,
gosh, that is such a cool
it was
idea.
awesome. I was Miss Peacock. Sean was Mr. Green. He still has the vest. I still actually have the dress.
Aw.
And then Joseph was Mr. Professor Plum, and Danita was Miss Scarlet.
That's a good idea.
Our other friend was Anya was Mrs. White, and Nathan was Colonel Mustard. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's
It
creative.
was really fun.
When I was pregnant with Kit, we lived in Massachusetts. So Ryan, my stepson, we lived near his mom's family, and we did family themed costumes with them. Everyone but Adam. One year we went as DC characters. So like we were the Superman family, and Meredith's family was like Batman and all the Batman characters, because Batman and Superman don't get along. And then the next year we went as Star Wars characters, and I dressed in all black. And Kit was born in November, so I was like super pregnant with her. So I dressed in all black, and Meredith printed out a picture of the Death Star for me, and I pinned it on my
Oh, that's cute.
baby bump. And
Oh,
I
that's cute.
was
That's
space,
adorable.
and Kit was the Death Star. That I think was probably my favorite.
That's
I would
cute.
much rather have gone trick or treating pregnant than like
With a
5
newborn.
days postpartum after a home birth, trying to walk around this neighborhood. I got like 7 houses down,
man.
and I was like, "Yeah, I got to go back." He's like, "Are you
man.
okay?" I'm like, "I got to change this diaper." And he's like, "Oh, she pooped." I'm like, "No, I didn't, but I need." I'm like, it's me, buddy.
Oh man.
You're like, she
Right?
did it. Yeah, no, definitely. Like with Tommy, I think that's one of the reasons why I went in, because he's also November. But like, I remember trick or treating when I was pregnant with Kit, and oh man, afterwards I was like, I hope I don't
Swollen.
have this baby tonight. Like I was like having
Yeah.
contractions, but with with Tommy, we went trick or treating and I fell.
Oh no.
Ooh.
Yeah,
That's scary.
really bad. It was
Yeah.
really scary, and so yeah, but
When I was pregnant with Edwin, we went trick or treating at the mall,
mhm.
and I wore my Totoro dress, so I was a Totoro, and I was super pregnant with Edwin. And then we went to the trunk or treat, and I put a baby doll under my belly, so it looked like the baby was trying to get out of my belly.
Oh, that's funny.
For my costume. And then Sean put pretend play food in his belly, so he had a food baby trying to get out. That was our joint.
You guys are
costume
very
magic.
creative.
That's what
Ryan
we
was
did.
Spider-Man last year. And I'm like, that's
He
funny.
was.
You're wearing spandex when I'm wearing a diaper. Or 2 years ago, he was wearing spandex. I'm wearing a diaper. I'm like, this is a power dynamic that I don't really appreciate. And then I was like, you had to put some shorts on over the spandex. Like, someone's going to call like the police with you being near children. Like, this doesn't look appropriate. And he's like, wait, for real? I'm like, for real? I'm like, you got to do something. You got to duct. I don't know, something. So he ended up walking around as full Spider-Man, but with basketball shorts on. I'm like, well, this looks... I was like, we didn't think this through either. So after the 7 houses, we're like, let's kick this into gear and get home. 'Cause
Adam was like a hardcore trick or treater. Like he's like, let's go, let's go, let's go, and we'll go
kinda
trick
how
or
I am.
treating for like hours,
Mhm.
but he won't dress up.
oh,
I'm like,
What
how
a
can
party
you like
pooper.
Halloween and not dress up? He's like, I like Halloween.
he's like, it's about winning, and I win. I'm a winner.
Getting so much candy that our children
Oh,
get
man.
sick off of it.
Yeah. Well, that was a lot of fun.
I don't know. Sorry, my attitude. Part of it was absolutely terrifying.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm glad I
That
didn't
was
have a heart
amazing.
attack.
Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah.
I'm glad you were able to come
We'll have
back
you
on
back
with us.
again.
I wish I came in
Yeah.
the back door. I would have seen the apparatuses that were curated back there.
I
for
thought
our
about that. I was
enjoyment.
like, what if she comes through the back? I was like, nah, it's wet and rainy and there's dog
There's
poop back
frogs
there.
everywhere.
There's so many frogs. I didn't respond to your text about the
I
frog.
know, I thought you
either.
were mad at me. I was like,
Oh no,
I better show
I know.
up
I
on
was like,
time.
I thought about this. I was like, I didn't respond. She's gonna think I'm mad. But I was like chewing Edwin out for doing homeschool work because he wasn't paying attention.
Oh, that's
No,
okay.
and I tried to show Mercedes, like, look at this frog that Jordan found, and she was like, hold on a minute, and she was like,
Kayla was like poking. I'm like, I wouldn't be. It's like poking the toad or
oh
something.
man,
You know?
I was spray painting her stupid thingy out back, her costume, and no joke, I put it on the rocks because Sean's like, don't spray it on there, which whatever, duh. And when I put it on the rocks, no joke, a huge like giant frog, like the one you texted me,
Oh.
like hopped towards the trampoline, and I was like, wah!
Yeah, I would have.
They're everywhere, man, and they're huge this year.
Just send Mercedes out to collect them.
I know.
That's what literally Kayla said. Does Mercedes want to come get this? Question mark. And I said, I will. Let me forward this message. I'll
Right?
let you know.
Probably. It
real.
wouldn't shock me.
She loves frogs. There was one on our porch too, on the wall
Ooh.
by our front door, and she was like, "Can I get it?" And I was like, "No, just let him be."
Well, we hope you enjoyed our creepy episode. It was really creepy for us when John ran out in the mask with the knife.
That was amazing. That was the best part.
The best part is that it got Hillary too,
It did.
and she planned it.
It did. Actually, John planned it. I was just aware
Fully
of it.
in on it.
I was just aware of
She
it.
just helped him pop the screen out of the
I-
window.
I did.
And didn't tell us that he hid a mask and knife in the room.
Nah. Well, we hope that you guys have a wonderful Halloween and stay safe. And again, if you have any suggestions or ideas for us for a podcast, email us or contact us on our socials, and we will look them up and do a recording. We hope you have a happy Halloween.
And remember, if you're a mess,
You're not alone.
you're feral.
feral.
I'm Kimberly.
And I'm Hillary.
And I am John. Happy Halloween.
And I'm Jordan.
See you next time.
Happy Halloween.
Being a house school is darn hard. I don't even know where to start. But when times get spooky and things get kooky, it's a good thing that we have the best girls by our side. Bubbling cauldrons are a must. Making potions that combust. Undead moms are the bomb. Lay the kids to rest and listen to feral house schools raising the dead. To feral